In climate news, the planet is on track to log its second hottest year on record this year. That's according to Europe's global warming monitor. New data from the Copernicus Climate Change Service shows that 2025 is currently tied with 2023 after a historic high recorded in 2024, making them the three hottest years ever recorded. The agency's latest report shows the three-year average is on track to exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels for the first time. You'll recall that's the threshold targeted in the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. Well, Samantha Burgess is strategic lead for climate in the Copernicus Climate Change Service, which produced that report. Welcome to DW. So is global warming accelerating, or how do you interpret this new data?
Yes, the trajectory of global warming has increased in the last decade or so, but it's too early to tell whether this is part of a long-term acceleration or a temporary acceleration as part of the long-term warming trend.
OK, this could be a blip.
It could be a blip, yeah, which is why continued monitoring is always so very important.
Your report points out that temperatures were above average, especially in northern Canada and the Arctic Ocean, which is a bit worrying. Why there in particular?
Yes, so each month the global average is made up of locations that are warmer than average and locations that are cooler than average. We know that the Arctic is warming at 3 to 4 times the global average rate, so we often see exceptionally high anomalies in the Arctic region.
And we saw a series of extreme weather events last month, especially in Southeast Asia. How closely were those events tied to or linked to climate change?
So each individual event needs a climate attribution to understand the trigger and the impact associated with long-term warming of climate change versus extreme weather and the influence of those two interplaying with each other. What we can say without a specific attribution study, though, is that a warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, is about 7% more moisture per degree of warming, and a warmer, wetter atmosphere has more potential energy available for storms as well. So there's very likely to be a climate change footprint associated with the catastrophic tropical storms that we saw in Southeast Asia last month.
OK, so climate change deniers could say that, well, one, those Southeast Asia floods. Southeast Asia floods regularly anyway, and there's no data to specifically tie that event to global warming. And you also talked about these averages, what you're saying seems to sort of fuel what the climate deniers would say was, well, we don't know enough. This could be a blip. It floods in Southeast Asia anyway. Help us out with that.
Yeah, not at all. That's a misinterpretation of what I'm saying. So extreme events have always happened. We've always had heat waves. We've always had severe storms. What we can say, though, is that heat waves are getting warmer. They're getting more frequent and they're happening over larger areas. Similarly with storms, we're seeing storm tracks changing. So the historical trajectory of storms is changing. The seasonality of when storms and tropical cyclones is happening is also changing. We've always had them, so we can't blame climate change for an individual event, but we need to undertake a scientific study to understand the exact contribution of human-induced climate change that influenced any individual event, made it warmer, made more rainfall fall, and made the wind speeds faster than they otherwise would have been. What we can say is our world is better observed than it ever has been, and the scientific evidence is overwhelmingly clear that our climate is changing. It's changing all around the world and impacting everyone. It's because of greenhouse gas emissions and concentrations in the atmosphere, yet we have the solutions available to change this trajectory.
OK, That's told us. Thank you for that, Samantha. Samantha Burgess from the Copernicus Climate Change Service.
You're very welcome.